Nancy was a dedicated and fierce champion of affordable and workforce housing, and she was instrumental in the creation, development, and implementation of the Encore.
Premiumbeat.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. Will we please take our seats so that we can begin our program?
Premiumbeat.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to join us today as we honor and memorialize our friend, Nancy Myron Crown. I'm Lillian Stringer, Director of Community Affairs for the Tampa Housing Authority, and will be serving as your mistress of ceremonies for this program today. What a beautiful day the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. I now call upon Father Theo Waria, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, to provide us with the invocation. Please come forward, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here in your program. There's Father Hugh Chikawe. I'm not Father Hugh Chikawe, Father Theo. I'm representing him. He was supposed to be here, but he got some emergencies. So I am here from St. Peter Clever Church across the street. And now we begin with our invocation. Blessed are you, Lord, God of all creation, whose goodness fills our hearts with joy as we celebrate Nancy Crown's memorial dedication. Blessed are you who have brought us together this afternoon to work together as one, as brothers and sisters. Strengthen us with your grace and wisdom, for you are God forever and ever. Amen. I will bless you, Lord, at all times. His praise shall be ever in my mouth. Let my soul glory in the Lord. The lowly will hear me and be glad. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us together extol his name. I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and he delivered me from all my fears. Let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord, God of mercy, who through your Son gave us a marvelous example of charity and a great commandment of love for one another. Send down your blessings upon us this afternoon as we celebrate Nancy Crown's memorial dedication, who generously devoted herself for helping others, the family, those who she worked with, and the people and the community. When we are here as one, may all our love continue to be with her. Let faith serve you in our neighbor. We ask all this in the name of the Lord God, who lives forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Father Waria, for that. All right, we'll continue on with the program, and now if you'll please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated. We have a soloist coming up. She's a dear friend of mine. Her name is Donna Douglas, and she will sing for us this morning, America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber ways of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shared his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot's dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shared his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
All right, and among our list of speakers, we'll start with Eileen M. Pope, the Bank of America CDC Senior Vice President.
Thank you. As Lillian said, my name is Eileen Pope. I'm with Bank of America Community Development Corporation. I'd like to say that Bank of America Community Development Corporation and the Tampa Housing Authority have been partners in this Encore redevelopment for over 13 years, and what a partnership it has been. We have really done a lot to this community. On behalf of the Encore partners, we would like to thank everyone here for attending this very special event in honor of Nancy Crown. Also, on behalf of BACDC, Nancy's family and friends, I would also like to thank the Tampa Housing Authority, in particular Jerome Ryans and Leroy Moore, for graciously offering to dedicate this space in memory of Nancy Crown. I met Nancy Crown in late 1999, early 2000. We worked together on a ULI award-winning redevelopment in Charlotte known as First Ward Place. We were in a public-private partnership representing the two different partners. Nancy was the development officer for then Nations Bank, and I was the development officer for the Charlotte Housing Authority. It was the first Hope 6 development in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over time, we gained mutual respect for each other and a strong working relationship, and our friendship began. Shortly thereafter, in 2002, I was offered a position by Nancy to join BACDC, and the rest is history. Being generally the same age with young children, we talked about family, children, schools, significant events in our children's lives, and even just the normal, everyday happenings with our families. We talked about our aging parents and supported each other as we cared for them and watched them pass. I can proudly say I got to know Nancy very well. The last time I saw Nancy was a few days before she left us. We were sitting in the Stearns Weaver Tampa office with our partners and attorneys, strategizing about one of our developments. Nancy talked about her upcoming trip to California with her children, Molly and Sam. She was so proud of her children. She adored them and was looking forward to spending time with them. Now I'd just like to say a few words about Nancy. Nancy Crown left a legacy of good. Through her work at Bank of America and in her personal life, she positively impacted the people and communities around her. Nancy was a dedicated and fierce champion of affordable and workforce housing, and she was instrumental in the creation, development, and implementation of the Encore. Endless energy, passion, and drive to do the right thing. These are just a few of the attributes that defined our friend and colleague, Nancy Crown. She was a remarkable individual who successfully balanced the family, work, and community. Her children always came first and were the loves of her life. They were the passion that drove Nancy. At work, Nancy was known for her integrity and ability to move projects forward. She was respected and admired by all. In the community, she was driven to give back. She served on boards and donated her time and resources to her faith, driven by a desire to leave the world in a better place than she found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Next up is Jerome Lyons, the Housing Authority President and CEO.
Thank you, Lillian. What a fitting memorial for Nancy. You know, the first time I met Nancy, you could tell she's the kind of a person, let's get it done. No nonsense, let's get it done. We sit there and we go back and forth, and she said, we'll get it done. Often we had to compromise with her though, because you know, once Nancy made up her mind on something, she made up her mind, that was it. But she was willing to compromise. The thing I liked about Nancy was that she was concerned about people. You know, sometimes banks are concerned about regulations. Nancy was concerned about getting the job done and doing right by the people that she was there to serve. That was important to us. That's why we bonded so well. We saw Nancy as a friend of the Housing Authority, as a part of the family. Nancy was just a great human being. I miss her, to be quite honest with you. The conversations we used to have, she'd call me on the phone sometime and said, look, we can't do it like that, but we can do it like this. Okay, Nancy. Because, you know, Nancy could wear you down after a while. She could really wear you down. But the thing I liked about her is that she was so sincere and she was so committed to getting a job done. We all miss Nancy. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this, to be a part of this. We think that she really embellishes the idea of Encore. She's the kind of a person that you always want to have on your team. Because not only is she oriented toward the technical side, she does the human side too. That was important to us. Nancy will miss her, but this will always be a memorial for Nancy. As long as we're here at this Housing Authority, this will be here. And we can always recognize and see this. And every time we see the Crown Theater, we'll think about Nancy. So we're so glad that you're here. We thank you for coming out. And please feel free to walk around, look at this place, because Nancy had a lot to do with this. So thank you for just being here, and thank you for being Nancy for being the kind of person that she is. And I look out here in this audience and I see the number of people that are sitting out here. Nancy had an impact on a lot of folks. Sometimes she was kind of quiet, and sometimes she wasn't. Once she decided she wanted to get something done, she'd get it done. And not only would she straighten us out as a housing authority, she'd take care of her team too. And we appreciated that. So thank you for coming out. This is a great affair. And we look forward to seeing this every day. We look forward to thinking about Nancy and our thoughts and our prayers. So it's good to have you here.
Mr. James Feld. I always say it, is it Field?
It's Field. It's
Field.
spelled funny.
All right. Well, you're here, so I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you.
So I think you're going to see a theme or two emerge from some of our comments. But I want to just back up a little bit. When Jerome and Leroy told us that they wanted to name the theater the Crown Theater, we were thrilled and we were elated. But you know, we were in a state of trauma. You know, we were mourning loss, and we were in the fight of our lives to try to get this building built and get it built the right way. And so I just kind of let it pass, and I didn't really think too much about it, other than I was happy. But upon reflection, there's a lot. There's a lot about the theater that I want to pull back into my interactions with Nancy. So I had the pleasure of working with her from the whole time she was at the bank. I was even more fortunate to work directly with her for about the last 10 years of her career. And we were a team of two. And the way it worked was I'd come up with crazy ideas about what we wanted to do or what we didn't want to do, or, you know, what direction we were going to go. And then I asked Nancy to help me make sure we did it right. And there were times when she thought I'd lost my mind. And Jerome, you'll know this. So I would tell her, hey, we can't do that anymore. And I remember one time in a big meeting, she said, well, then we must be out of that business. And so about 2 days later, the phone rings, and she says, I've been thinking about that. What if we did this? Or what if we did that? And over the course of a week or two, we worked out a solution that was much better than either one of us could have come up with on our own. And, you hear in sports a lot about the player that makes everybody better. And that was Nancy's role on our team. She made me a lot better. as a person, as a developer, as a friend, she was always there to help build me up. And one of the things she got to do with her role of making sure we did things right was work with all of our team to help make sure every little detail was perfect. And so that was kind of painful sometimes, but then I watched everybody grow as people and grow as professionals and get better and better and better. And that's a true testament to our friend. And then the other thing that she did, and again, I didn't really think about it until I reflected on this, was she was always the person that, we would start, say we're in Charlotte. We were getting phone calls that said, you people are crazy. No one's going to ever move back to Earl Village. And it was either the residents that said you're going to kick us out and not have a place for us, or it was the old timers who said, that place has got such a bad reputation, you're never going to get anyone to come want to live there. And she proved them wrong by doing a lot of little things that make a project into a place, that make a place into a community that people want to live in. We did that here. When we first started working here, people called us up and said, you don't know what you're getting into. I drive around the way out of the way because I don't want to even get near the place. And we're real proud that, it's turned into a community where people want to live. And so how does that relate back to the theater? So the difference between a project and a community is a whole lot of little things, and a lot of it comes down to how the people that live there interact with each other and what they care about. And so a theater, it's a place where people get together to share a common bond. Let's just say you got a group of family members that want to come watch a movie. They're closer as a family. Maybe it's a group of neighbors that has a movie night every week, or every now and then I'm sure it's people that don't even know each other, and they show up, and instead of being Charlie from down the hall, oh, that's my friend, and and they build a bond. And so when I think about what you could possibly dedicate that would encapsulate a lot of the good that Nancy brought to community she worked in, this is one of those places where the intangibles, the neighbors meeting neighbors, having fun together, building a bond, and carrying that bond forward to make this a better place. And it's truly touching to me to think that we'll have this here. I love seeing that up there. There were times we didn't think we'd ever get here, but I really love seeing it. And I'm sure if I was to wander in here some night and see a group of people sitting out here having a great time, getting to know each other better and build a community, I'd feel more and more convinced that this is a fitting tribute. So I'd like to thank our teammates, our partners, family, friends for being here and giving me a minute to talk about what Nancy meant to me.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, for that. Okay, next is Craig Utsler of Utsler Development Incorporated, and he's the president. Someone said, can you all hear me okay? They asked me to adjust the mic, but if we speak into it, it should be okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We work with BACDC in Orlando on a project called Creative Village, and we've been working on that project for about 8 or 10 years. My partner Brooke Myers is here and Tim Baker are here. We've worked with the team for a long time, and we really do appreciate the role that the bank has played in helping us do a project that, much like this project, that was, a pretty heavy lift in the beginning. With some, you had to have a pretty good future view to see what it could become, but it's turned into that, and it has a lot to do with the support from the bank. And I want to say thank you for that, just overall. But obviously, I want to talk about Nancy as a person. The development business is different in the sense that you meet people with so many different backgrounds, and you try to figure out who's doing what and what everybody's angle. I mean, this is sort of the way developers say, what everybody's angle is and how everybody's going to make money and all that sort of stuff. So you never got that with Nancy. The first time I ever met Nancy, I met her here, and then I had to drive back to Orlando and have some time to reflect. And it was very obvious to me. I got home and called my mom on the way home. We were talking about it. I said, she's wired right. you only had to talk to her for 5 or 10 minutes to kind of understand that she knew exactly what she was doing. Every time I dealt with her, she knew exactly what she was doing, and she was doing it for the right reasons. I mean, she and I would have conversations about affordable housing and why it mattered, and we didn't necessarily come from that in the private development we had done before, and I learned a lot about why she believed in it so passionately. I liked a lot of things about her personality. We had a lot of similarities in the way we pushed to get stuff done. So one of the things I liked about her when we worked on legal agreements together, she's very much an intellectual thinker. She was analytical in legal agreements to the point of every word and every clause and every craft, and I appreciate it. That's the way I am too. Everybody that's worked with me, and it was great. We had very robust meetings with the city of Orlando on the front end of projects, and Nancy and I felt like we came out on the good side of most of those negotiations, and I always liked that. She's one of the people that there's a phrase that I've used a lot in business. She had what I refer to as a deep sense of personal responsibility. When we would do something, and sometimes I'd say why or what is it, she just felt ultimately a responsibility to what everybody else talked about, and that was kind of the compass that she came at it through, and I liked that. She would call and email me when we weren't doing good or something bad would happen. And she wouldn't say, keep going or good job or thumbs up. She told me I had a responsibility to keep going and that she would be disappointed in me if I did not. And that stuck with me in a heavy way sometimes when I was having trouble keeping things together. So I think that that always stuck with me. She ultimately did say thank you a lot after some things got going, and I appreciated that too. She was a good partner, and not just in a business sense, as a person. I think that it's been a few years now. It's hard to believe it's been a few years now. But I mean, in our office, Nancy's a voice in our head every day. We hold ourselves to a high standard because of knowing her, and we all do, right? She made us all better, and I appreciate that. It was really just a pleasure to work with her and an honor to know her, and I appreciate the bank letting me be involved today. It meant a lot to me. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Usler. The next speaker is Kathy Besant, Bank of America Chief Operations and Technology Officer, and I might add that she was voted the most influential woman in banking in the United States by American Banker. Please come forward.
Well, I'll tell you what influence can do. Influence means there's nothing wrong with the microphone. It was just set up for the short girl. Nancy Crown was my friend, my colleague, an inspiration, and a motivation. I am so humbled and so honored to be a part of this today. Many people don't think of banks as families. In fact, for many years, people wondered if we have a soul. Let me give you just a couple of examples. James Field and I, we have worked together for 31 years. 31 years. Ann Shaler, sitting in the audience, Ann Shaler and I have worked together for 20 years. Nancy Crown and I had the opportunity to work together from 1997 until 2016, 17 years. I don't have to say a word to you about the company. The company is its people, and our people are a family. I want to thank Encore Partners. I love the name of this development, and I love the way you talk about it. Encore. I love the exclamation point. You have to live the exclamation point, and this development surely does. And Tampa Housing Authority, good grief. What chutzpah, what diligence, what determination. We are right, and you are right to honor Nancy, because what it took and what it takes the Housing Authority here in Tampa to do its work every day is exactly what made Nancy so special. My presence here today is not a ceremonial duty. I didn't show up here as a corporate suit. I'm representing a firm that loved, that respected, and that was committed to Nancy and her work. In those 19 years, Nancy and I shared a lot of things. Kids, I was telling Nancy's sister and brother-in-law that our kids bracketed each other. My daughter first, then Nancy's 2 kids, and then my son. More that they won't even remember. Sam and Molly, when you see this, you won't even remember. But the countless times that your mother and I took you kids to meetings and you became buddies because we gave you crayons and some paper and put you in the side of the room so that we could help build communities that you could be proud of. You won't remember that, but that's part of my 19 years. We had friends together. Nancy had so many diverse and interesting and deep friendships. One Friday, not long before a Christmas holiday, I happened to be somewhere. I'm not telling where because it seems frivolous and girly, but I ran into Nancy and some of her real estate development friends, and they were having their annual Christmas celebration. And just like Nancy, they invited me to be a part of it. And so I spent the rest of the afternoon with them. I thought I might go back to the bank. I determined later that would be a bad decision. But I will tell you, I was perfectly prepared to change the firm that afternoon. But we shared every element of our lives and a deep passion for the notion of people and communities and place. And I can't tell you how much our collaboration meant to me and has meant literally to the world. I believe all relationships are in a very happy way codependent, and Nancy and I in the development world were no different. There were times that I was the guts and she was the grit to get it done. And there were times that she was the guts and I was the grit to figure out how to fund it. We had a powerful, powerful partnership. And I don't know anything in life that can be achieved without that kind of partnership. And she was relentless for it in every single thing that she did. Nancy has many legends. I was, again, telling her sisters and brother-in-law something that happened to me, no kidding, on Friday. I was in a meeting with people in Charlotte who fancy themselves, as I do occasionally, super powerful. And we were talking about how to get something very complicated done. And the most senior, seasoned, devoted, incredible citizens in Charlotte, one of them said, you know what we need? We need Nancy Crown. And there's no more, I mean, I can't tell you, it is absolutely, positively the truth of it. And I got to say I was going to be here today. And the respect in that room and the moment of note for an incredible woman, an incredible mother, an incredible leader was just palpable. Other Nancy legends, her laugh. Nancy Crown liked nothing better than to have a good laugh. Typically, a laugh out of beautiful construction of words, something truly deeply witty or satirical or funny, or just human nature. She's adept at laughing at herself and all of our own human nature. She was famous for her optimism. All of you have talked about that, but also for her Christmas poems. Now, if you've read one, you know that Nancy could summarize an entire year in prose, and in prose that could fit inside of a Christmas card. And I tell you, I have every one. I'm a word person myself, and I just celebrated the magic that she could bring to a holiday and communicate her life and Sam's and Molly's lives for an entire year and turn a rhyme around the whole thing. It's interesting that we started today with the Pledge of Allegiance. When I was putting my notes together before I had seen the program, I wrote down Pledge of Allegiance. And the reason is this: the final line of the Pledge of Allegiance is all about what Nancy Crown stood for. Liberty, freedom. Freedom to live, freedom to be a community, freedom. And justice for all. Nancy Crown was all about justice and equality for all. One of the many reasons we loved her. She expects us, the charge I'm going to give you actually, is that she expects us to do what she would do. And we will do it because we honor her. The commitment that we make to each other in being here today, I believe, is that we honor her by carrying on the way she would want us to, and to prove to her that we actually learned from everything that she demonstrated to us and that she taught us overtly over the head when she needed to. When we hired Nancy in 1997, she was actually hired by a guy named Mike Pitchford. Many of you here know and remember Mike. Mike is retiring tomorrow, is his last day. Since he left the bank, he's run a not-for-profit in the Washington area. He's retiring tomorrow. And I asked him for a memory, and I thought it was a fitting way to end what I was saying because, and you'll know why. Actually, I don't have to tell you why. I will just do it. When I first met Nancy, it was for an interview for a job in the development as the development officer in Charlotte for the Community Development Corporation. It was during that interview that I first learned about Nancy's unsinkable optimism and the remarkable commitment of her convictions. My observation of these traits was reinforced every day thereafter. In the interview, Nancy, then living in Chicago, was clear with me. She was moving to Charlotte. The small matter of whether she would get the job was never in doubt in her mind. She was determined. It is helpful for real estate developers to be optimistic and determined. The real estate development process is long and fraught with peril. Being able to see finished and occupied buildings where there's only dirt when you start requires true, definitionally true vision. So, most real estate developers are determined and they are optimistic. How I have never seen or met one more so than Nancy. I think Nancy could, in a way, see the future. In her decision to move to Charlotte, I think she could see her next steps in life. I think she could see herself at work in her new job. I think she could feel herself in her new home, settled into the open arms of Charlotte. I believe she could envision the kids she would someday bring into this world to nurture and love with all of her optimism and her determination. That was our Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bassan, for that. It's very emotional, actually. And now we'll have remarks from the Crown family members. You can come up and introduce yourselves as you give your remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Crown, and also with us is my sister Mary, my sister Jane, and Mary's husband William. On behalf of Molly and Sam, Nancy's children, and the entire Crown family, we would like to thank the Tampa Housing Authority and Bank of America for the lovely honor of naming this Tempo Outdoor Theater for Nancy. Nancy walked the walk and talked the talk of fairness and equality, as anyone who knew her would attest. She knew how to bring people and ideals together, and she knew what was fair and what was good. Tempo at Encore is a prime example of this. Nancy truly believed everyone counted, regardless of who they were or what they did, regardless of their resume or title, regardless of where they lived. That belief had such a strong influence in both her personal and professional life and will now be a part of her legacy. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to now reveal the monument in memory of Nancy. I would ask that the Crown family and the speakers please come up. Lillian, would you do the honor with me?
Premiumbeat.com.
Nancy was an absolute wonderful person. She was dedicated to her job. She stood up with anybody, and she could. We could bump heads a lot of times between accounting and trying to get her to understand some of our positions. But she was a fighter.
So it's very important for us to honor Nancy Crown for all the work that she's done to make this vision of the Tampa Housing Authority come to fruition. She played a major role in structuring the partnership between Bank of America, CDC, and the Tampa Housing Authority. She approved all the investments. She structured some of the deals. We worked very hard together. Personally, I worked hand in hand with her for over 18 years, actually for 13 years. It's 18 years now that I've been there. But it's just very important because she gave so much to community and to her family. And we want to recognize and honor her for all of her efforts to provide quality, affordable housing in Florida.
Nancy was an avid supporter of the communities, for affordable housing, for giving back and making an impact on the communities. She was thoughtful, she was dedicated, she was involved, and made a huge impact in Florida, in Charlotte, wherever she was, she made an impression.
The bank has lost a really good colleague when they lost her. Very good advocate. The community of Charlotte and other communities that she worked in as representative today just lost a really great person.
For Nancy in particular, on a personal note, she was a personal friend for all of us here, not just a colleague, but a true personal friend. And when she passed, it came as such a sudden surprise to everybody. We immediately knew that we had to remember her in a permanent way here at Encore. And as it would unfold, the Tempo at Encore was the last project that she worked on for us. She got it started for the first year. And we had, for the first time, an outdoor movie theater venue in one of our buildings. All of our other buildings have indoor movie theaters. This is an outdoor movie theater near the pool and the community room. There's band rehearsal rooms in this community amenity building. And we just sort of saw this space out here as a space that could be crowned the Crown Theater, naming it in honor of Nancy, the Crown Theater. So Crown Theater here at Encore Tampa, at Tempo at Encore, a place where families will come out and enjoy and gather and build community. And I think she would be very pleased with seeing that this is how we chose to honor her.
One of the most important ways that Nancy influenced me was her deep belief that all work should be done with people instead of for people or to people. That the important thing about building a community was that it be of the community and not to the community. And that sense of inclusion, of making sure every voice is heard, and the deep belief that all voices matter is a big part of what Nancy was all about and what she taught me.
Nancy challenged us. She made us pay attention to things that we didn't want to pay attention to. She encouraged us when that was the right thing to do. She challenged us when that was the right thing to do. She negotiated when that was the right thing to do. And we were all better for having the opportunity to work with her.
What I liked about her, she was family oriented. And in our business, we deal with a lot of families and a lot of children. So when she put things together, she thought about family and she thought about the children in those families. So when she put things together, she made sure, that we take into consideration the fact that everybody has a family, and she was interested in making sure that the families were happy and doing what they need to do. I think more importantly than anything else, Nancy was a hero in our community.
If you know the meaning of encore, it means let's do it again. And this time we did it the right way. She would have been proud to be here. I have a saying that I used to say all the time, and I promised every time I say it that this is going to be my last time, but I'm going to leave you with this thought. Someone once said that if you want happiness for an hour, to take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a week, take a vacation. If you want happiness for a month, get married. If you want happiness for a year, win the lottery. But if you want happiness for a lifetime, serve others. And I can say that about Nancy. Her life was built upon serving others. I will miss her so much.
Premiumbeat.com.
Having a legacy that's embodied in a building with so many different residents, and in a community where people can remember that it wasn't once a cheerful and welcoming place, and to know that that's going to be standing for years and years and have an ongoing impact is, that's what having a living legacy really is.
Nancy was really a behind-the-scenes person. She would not necessarily want to be recognized and named for this work. She would be delighted and thrilled that the aspect of community and something that would include all the residents in this community would be the most important piece. She'd be pleased with that.
This is a very fitting honor to the legacy of Nancy Crown. This theater will be a place that community people can come together and enjoy themselves, and that was always Nancy's vision. Whether it was working for the Bank of America or working for the Chicago Housing Authority, she was committed to communities and committed to open spaces where people could enjoy themselves.
As nice as it is to have everybody saying thank you to Nancy for what she contributed, her real emphasis would be on saying thank you to all the other people.